Welcome back to Playing to Win, and today's conversation is going to activate something so powerful inside you. Today's guest is a qualified financial coach, but she's so much more than figures and budgets. She's all about emotions, beliefs, healing your nervous system, and helping women lead their way into abundance. Get ready to take some notes and expand your energetic wealth frequency. Laura Moore, welcome to Playing to Win.
Thank you for having me.
I'm so glad to have you here. I feel like I have followed you on TikTok right from the very early days, and I always have in my head, I've invested £20,000 in the stock market, and that is literally what I think of all the time. And you were actually the reason why I started investing in the stock market. So this is a bit of a full circle moment.
That makes me want to cry.
Yeah, honestly, like you really did. And I remember being like, oh my God, I've heard about this. I don't know very much about it, but this girl is really cool. I want to go to Ibiza with her. And she also knows fuckloads about money. So yeah, where did that entire journey start for you? Like, what was your earliest memory of money?
So, I mean, for me, like my kind of earliest memory with money was very like, what's the word? Like jolted, because I kind of had like early memories. Like I remember, I don't eat sweet stuff. I love chips, chip shop chips.
You're a savoury girl.
I'm a savoury girl. And my mum used to give me £1 and I'd walk up to the shops and I'd come back with a little cone of chips and it was pure joy.
Yeah.
Pure, nothing was bad in that moment.
Okay.
But I also saw the negative side, that lack of financial literacy and money stress, what that can do to family, to an individual, you know, and it was a very bad, you know, stressful topic in our household. So I kind of grew up with parents that worked a lot and we didn't really have a lot of money. So it was kind of, you know, that was my foundation for kind of how I viewed money. So getting into doing what I do now, classic, fell into it. But I used to want to be an actress from age 10.
Oh my God, you would be such a good actress.
Thank you. I
feel
think
like
so
that's
too.
your calling.
I know. Maybe when I'm older, I'll be like a Meryl Streep.
Maybe this is
like,
the path.
It's the path into it.
Okay.
Yeah. But I'm like, I've trained as an actress from like 10.
So it was
every
always,
weekend.
that's always what you wanted to do?
100%.
Okay.
And I am very academic, so I got very good grades at school. And my sixth form teachers was like, go to university, you have to go to university. And I was like, no, I don't want to. I was that first year when it went from £3,000 to 9,000.
Same, but I actually took I took the bait, unfortunately. But yeah, literally, to the dagger to the heart.
Yeah.
Anyway, your story.
But it was just another reason to stick to my plan.
Yeah,
so my plan was
absolutely.
go to drama school.
Okay.
Not go to university. Drama school's £15,000 per year. Yeah, and like at the time you couldn't get a loan, you couldn't do it wasn't attached to a university where you could get the student loan.
Sure.
So you had to have the money basically. Right. I did not have that.
No.
So I was a very like delusional 19-year-old and I was like, I'm going to get a job. I'm going to just save. And when I have the money, I'll go. It was that attitude. So I got a job as an account exec at like this marketing agency in the town that I worked in. And by the time I was 22, I had the first lot of £15,000 and I was like, let's go. So I was ready to go to drama school, but 2 weeks before I started my course, my best friends were like, do you want to come to Australia? We're going travelling. And I was like, so I deferred my place.
Oh my God.
I went travelling.
So that was like a real fork in the road in terms of you were so committed to that vision from the outset, like to the point that you were going to go completely against convention of, especially being an academic, especially our generation, university is the only route for you. Go. This is such a privilege for you to be able to go to somewhere like this to, you know, have this access to education that generations before us probably didn't have. First in the family, that kind of vibe. And then to be like, I'm going to work my ass off for 3 or 4 years to get that money. And then you're hit with, shall we just fuck off to Australia?
I was like, I remember when it happened because I took my little blue Corsa, I drove to McDonald's, got myself 20 chicken nuggets. I was with my friend and I was like, what do I do? You know, when like core memory being sat, it was like late at night and I knew in my gut the right thing to do, because what happened over those 3 years as I was saving is, as much as I loved acting and performing, I kind of realised that world maybe wasn't for me, but I wasn't ready to admit that to myself because it had been my dream for literally 10 years.
It's what you built your entire kind of nervous system around at that point.
It was my identity.
Exactly.
Do you know what I mean? I'd go to a party and my best friends would be like, this is Laura, she's going to be on TV one day. And I'm like, oh, I don't know if I want that anymore.
Yes. And so that's scary.
It's so scary. But I felt like that opportunity, fork in the road moment, was my opportunity to go, okay, try out something else, reset, explore, you know. And I'm such a traveller at heart. Like, I love all of that. So yeah, I deferred my place, went travelling, spent all of the money, literally every single penny. And then when I came home, was like, okay, what do I do? And I just started. I knew I wanted to help people.
Yeah.
And I set up a blog. I started talking about all the different things, but money was the thing that I always spoke about. It was always the thing that I like. I'd write a blog. It would always be about money. And I always mixed in the psychological, emotional, spiritual side without realising. I didn't really know what I was doing. I was just kind of being like, I was just talking from the heart.
Yeah, it was like a natural calling for you to talk about that.
100%.
And is that just, do you think that did come from your upbringing, the conversations around money, that kind of, it always just felt like such a natural topic? Because on paper, you could say, well, you didn't come from money, you didn't have that wealth, you had like a negative association with it, but actually that was exactly why you wanted to talk about it.
Yeah, and I think because I'd saved that £15,000, no one knew at all. No one knew I had that money saved. My friends knew that I had savings, but we went to Australia and I didn't get a job. They were both working and I'm just...
Yeah.
And we got to the end of the trip after like 8 months. And one of them was like, how much did you have saved? And I was like, £15,000. They were like, what the hell? And I remember being like, why didn't I tell anyone? Like, what was that feeling? Like, was it shame? Was it guilt? And I uncovered a lot about myself and my own relationship with money when I did my financial coaching course.
Yeah.
But I think it was just that thing of, I've really always been interested in the spirituality, but also like psychology and the way that our minds work from a young age. The two just perfectly kind of aligned. So it felt really natural to talk about. And at the time, it was around like when COVID started, it was like 2019, and everyone's at home on their phones and everyone's stressed about money. It was just kind of like perfect timing of me showing up and being like, hey, I think I can help.
Just like the perfect storm to like give you that environment to do what you feel like was such a deep calling to talk about. And I think as well, it's so interesting that when we talk about nervous system regulation and energy and all of that plays into the physical manifestation of our lives, it's always branded like, we both have said it before, spirituality, but it's actually all just based in science. And that's why like maybe you felt such a thing to, okay, this might sound a bit woo-woo or whatever, and I don't really know where I'm going with it, but something inside me knows this works.
Yeah, and it was that kind of thing of like, when I first started like blogging and doing Instagramming, I was doing it because when I got back from Australia, I decided I wasn't going to be an actress, but was like in this no man's land of being in my mid-20s. All of my friends, I felt, had their like career ladder on the right wall, but I just kind of like pulled mine off and I was like, I don't know where to place it. So I got my old job back, which was really helpful, you know, like really supportive boss, but I knew there is something else. And the sort of blogging part really came from passion. It came from, I need a creative outlet. But when I tell you, I did not think it could be a job. I was like, oh, I just want to help. Like, I just want to help people. This feels nice to share. I feel like I've got a lot to say, but I don't know what that world looks like. And it happened a bit more organically of like, oh, a brand reached out, and then BBC News reached out, and I went on the telly, and then like, you know, all these different things happened, and yeah, it all kind of like came together to create a kind of business and a career that a couple of years ago I didn't even think existed.
It's so interesting, isn't it, how when we do lead from that source within us of like, this isn't just, I'm not actually thinking about money right now, I'm just doing, I've got to get this out, I've got to articulate this, and then unintentionally, and I think that's when the most powerful manifestations come into physical, is when it's so unintentional. Like, you knew that you were meant for more, didn't know what it was, followed the calling, and that led you here helping hundreds, thousands of people. understand money on a scientific level. And that's a really amazing thing that we all need a lot more of, because I feel like, and you've even spoke about yourself, like, we don't understand money.
Yeah.
We don't understand it. I think a lot of us forget that it is just energy. It's just, you know, it's available to you whenever you want. But how did you then take that experience that you had in Australia? You'd spent the 15 grand. How do we then reach £20,000 in the stock market? What did that journey look like? When did you start learning about the stock market? How did that kind of come into your orbit?
Into my world.
Yeah.
So saved that 15 grand, spent it in Australia, got my old job back, saved another 25 grand, moved to London.
And this is in a really short space of time, right?
Yeah, so I saved the 25 grand between the ages of about 25 to 27. That kind of
That's a lot of money to save in 2 years living in London.
Yeah.
Enjoying life.
Enjoying my life.
Just shows how possible it is.
Yeah, and I think like I had worked really hard at my job. Like I was a saleswoman, you know, I like worked up the ranks. I was very close with my boss, and you know, it was a sales job. So I got commission, but I also had side hustles, and like I did some of the most random jobs on the side. Like I just did random things. And the plan for that money was to travel South America. I was like, I've got the bug.
Yeah.
I don't know what I want to do with my life. So why not save up and go away again? COVID hit. Obviously, I was like, probably can't go anywhere. But sort of around that period when I had that money saved in cash, I went on a date. And the guy that I went on a date with, we were talking about money really openly and candidly. And he was actually the one who was the first person who said, you do know that money like shouldn't be sat in cash. You should invest it, right? And I was like, what the hell is investing?
Yeah.
And he gave me like top line, but enough for me to be like, okay.
What is this?
Yeah, what is this? And it was like right at the start of my journey of like talking about money. And when I first started, I was talking about budgeting and saving and personal finance and cash flow, you know, the practical stuff, but it wasn't wealth building. It was that kind of like maintaining and holding on to. So I just kind of like did a bit of my own research, ended up, you know, reaching out to a couple of people, and the stars aligned because someone who I knew like had met previously was like, I will tell you all about it. And I was like, let's go for a beer.
Oh my God.
So yeah, sat down with this guy and he told me everything. And I just remember thinking like, why aren't more people doing this? Because this is easy. This seems easy. Obviously there's risks involved. Obviously there's, you know, things to take into consideration. But yeah, it was crazy because I then had this money. Some of it I used to front load my business, and then some of it I obviously used to start investing in the stock market. And then you kind of just learn as you go. And it was one of those, learning how to invest changed my entire financial trajectory. Honestly, like, especially from a girl who grew up, you know, like not wealthy, not in a wealthy family, not planned to have a big old inheritance. And then learning, okay, there is something that I can do for myself, for my own wealth, that is going to set me up for the future. It was like,
yeah,
crazy.
Honestly, incredible. And I think as well, it is that real thing of we're all so uncomfortable with risk.
Yeah.
We're so uncomfortable with risk. The stock market and investing has been gatekept from the majority of society. And because anyone who's like not upper class, really, really rich, kind of just looks at it and thinks that's way too risky. I don't want to be involved in that, because we're only ever sold the risks and not the benefits of it. And I think because we've all had that upbringing of we're workers, you go to work, you get your paycheck, you go home, stability, generation above us, that's what they were sold, stability. And then now we're going, hang on a second, what are they doing over there?
Yeah.
We want to know what's going on over there because we want access to it. And I think you've really kind of like opened a portal to like this is what people are doing with their money, and this is why you need to do it too. And how do we get comfortable with risk around money? And obviously everyone's different, but it is a risk thing. It's scary.
Yeah. I think it's interesting because, especially for women, we have been told for a very long time that we are risk averse. But actually, I'm more of a believer that we're just more risk aware. Some people are risk averse, totally, and like don't like taking risks, but some people do like taking risks, but they're more just a bit like, they don't jump in blind. You know, they want to learn a bit more. They, want to check things out. And I think when it comes to getting comfortable with taking risk, it's like understanding your own identity when it comes to money, your own set of beliefs around money, what you believe risk is, but also having enough knowledge to understand risk, because risk is a scale, you know, and like buying a property is a risk. And yet in the UK, there's no like random risk warnings when it pops up, you know, like adverts pop up online about it. It's just, you live in the UK, buy a house, you're sorted.
That is so true. I've never thought about it from that lens before of, obviously, like, I know buying property is a risk, but you're so right. We're not like, because that is helpful for society, for us to buy a house, for capitalist society that we live in, it's really helpful. So we're going to be kind of shimmied into that, as opposed to investing in the stock market, which makes everyone have more of an equal playing field.
Yeah, and I think the thing about property is it was more accessible. Like I always tell people, my auntie, she bought a flat in Cockfosters, which is like north of London.
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe 40 years ago.
Yeah.
For £18,000.
Oh my God.
The whole thing. That's not even a deposit now.
That actually makes me feel sick.
It makes me feel sick.
It makes me feel sick. Because I guarantee our wages haven't inflated at the same price.
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
That's the issue. And it makes it inaccessible. So you go from having this whole generation of people be like, buy property. And
because it worked then.
Because it used to work.
Yeah.
That system used to work. Houses were maybe, you know, or to get a mortgage was 3 to 4 times the size of the average salary. Easy. Now it's like 10 times on average. So I do think that disparity in household, in wages versus house prices, it doesn't add up anymore. And before, it was a lot harder to get started in the stock market, whereas now it's so accessible. So it's just kind of like, it's, in my opinion, it's just flipped. Used to be easier to buy property and harder to invest in the stock market. Now it's the other way around. They are both wealth building strategies. They're different. You know, if you have a house, you have a physical asset versus, you know, this, which is like holding shares and stocks. But the key thing is that your money isn't just sat in cash. And because I do believe money is energy, it needs to flow. If you just hoard it all and you hold it all in cash, you think it's safe. You think it's safe sat in a bank and you're getting, you know, 2-3% interest. But actually, it's just as risky to have all of your money sat in cash than having some of it in assets.
Completely. And when we think about inflation as well, what that then looks like, your money is, you're not actually making interest at all. You're actually devaluing your money by leaving it sat still. And I think that that is such a real limiting belief that so many people have, is like, I need to have this massive pot of savings sat in a bank account. And actually that is probably one of the worst ways. I'm not a financial expert, but one of the worst ways to grow your money, because it's not going to grow, it's just going to sit there. And as you said, money is absolutely energy. It has to flow, it has to come in and out, it has to be moved around. And obviously in the stock market, that's exactly what it's doing. But for you, so you went on this date, this guy's been like, you need to do this, you've learned all about it, and then was that the moment when you were like, I have got to tell so many people about this, I need to break down the barriers to entry here? And is that when you started your TikTok journey and kind of talking about it? And what was that process like for you? Because we see all the time, like, this is how you grow on TikTok, but actually you just led with that. Yeah,
so I started, well, I found out about it, and from the point of like finding out to actually making my first investment was probably about a year.
Okay.
Because no one in my family did it.
Yes.
I didn't know anybody personally who was doing it. I couldn't lean on anybody. Obviously, I made that friend who told me everything I needed to. He was like my biggest source of information at that time. But also, when we think about risk, you know, I was single, living in London, had no one to fall back on financially. So the practical risks were greater. But I think my first investment was like £70. But I'm a big believer that like when you start to take action on things, that's when you build confidence, right? You can have all the knowledge. I could read all the books, watch all the like videos, listen to all the podcasts, but until you actually take that information and do something with it and learn, oh, how did that make me feel? Oh, what's cropping up? What limiting belief is cropping up? What, well, you know, all the things. You can't actually like get any further. There's, you know, the knowledge can only take you so far. The rest, I think you have to learn by actually taking action.
Yeah.
So yeah, right. I started investing. I set up my TikTok. I remember TikTok, like, it was obviously COVID.
Yeah.
And I discovered TikTok and was one of the, you know, one of the pointy finger girls.
100%.
That's where it started.
Yeah.
But when I started doing what I do naturally, which is just like talking to the camera, genuinely, like, I've had no kind of like TikTok growth strategy. I just had a couple of videos go viral. And I think on TikTok, it kind of, you like have a video go viral and then it kind of plateaus out, and it kind of like, my growth personally has been like that, but it's always been from sharing my truths, sharing my honest opinions, and doing it with being like, hey, I'm a young girl in a male-dominated industry, and I'm not being like, stop buying takeaways, you know, like stop getting latte.
Having your avocado on toast and your matchas. Yeah, boring. Yeah.
Like, I literally get coffee every single day. I spend hundreds of pounds on coffee.
But
and
why shouldn't
matcha.
you? Do you know what I mean? Like,
it brings me so much joy.
Exactly.
And it's a choice.
That's what it's all about. And I honestly had a conversation with someone the other day, and they have got really bad money mindset. They're really...
Send them my way.
Like, exactly. Like, literally have so much fear around spending money. And I was like, literally just change the intention of like, this is a joy to be able to spend this money on something that is going to bring me so much joy in return. And that sounds like exactly, that's what we should be doing when we're going to buy a coffee. Instead of thinking, oh my God, I feel so guilty buying this. It's like, no, how grateful that I can come and buy a coffee this morning and walk in the sun on the way back from an exercise class. Like, what a privilege and joy that is, and enjoy it.
Yeah. I think it's hard because we get taught how to make money, right?
Yes.
Go get a job.
Yeah.
We get taught how to spend money. Like, no one's got, you know,
especially
we get
women, we are like hit continuously.
Spend your money.
Yes.
There's stuff wrong with you. You shouldn't have hairy armpits. You shouldn't have hair anywhere.
Yes.
You've got to have the smoothest face. You've got like, I've been having the conversation with myself and with my friends around getting work done to my face, you know, from Botox to different like non-invasive surgeries to all. And when I tell you, one day I'm like, I'm going to do it. I've got the money. My face is my job. I want to be on camera. I want to feel confident. To then being like, fuck the patriarchy. Capitalism was winning if I put my money towards it. And it flips, right? Because we are constantly being told that we're not enough. We don't look enough. So we're always being told and being taught how to spend. Some people, it's easy. They are like spenders. Some people really struggle and they find themselves feeling very guilty or stressed about spending. And that also falls into two categories, because you might feel guilty spending because you know that you can't afford it. And the guilt is like, oh, I can't help but spend because these are my habits, but I feel bad because I know I don't have the cash. Or you've got all the money saved, you've got the money invested, you've got a house, and yet you still feel guilty spending. And that is a whole different story, but that's the guilt of being able to treat yourself and spend money on yourself and enjoy it. But it shows up differently for everybody. But the thing we know is money touches everyone. We need money, like, because of the world that we live in right now. So you can either like ignore it, stick your head in the sand, get stressed about it, feel overwhelmed, or you can embrace it, work through your blocks, improve your relationship with money, and actually learn how to enjoy both spending and growing it. You know, like, it can be a really joyous thing. But I think, especially as women, we've been told, well, we get constantly marketed to that we're, save the pennies, like, don't splurge on this. The narrative for us is always very like restrictive. Whereas actually, like, it can be really expansive.
Yes,
but it's
absolutely.
tapping into that.
And I think as well, it is that thing of knowing that, okay, money can feel joyous and allowing it to feel that way. Because I feel like, especially as women, we are told, you like, and maybe not just women, I feel like maybe men are just more resilient to it, but essentially, like, money's the root of all evil. And, you know, it's not actually very gracious to be like, actually, I do want to earn lots of money and I want money and it's okay to want money. Whereas I feel like if someone says that out loud, we're all a bit like, oh God, like, there's something wrong with them. Or if they've made loads of money, it's because they're greedy or they've done something dodgy to get it. And like, there's just all these like real fear. There's so much fear around money and what it means. And I was exactly the same, like growing up in a household where the narrative is exactly like that, of kind of, oh, money's something that we need to stress about, and money's something that we don't have, and there's never enough of it. And that's actually something that we all need to kind of take stock of a little bit, I think, and kind of step back and go, hang on a second, let's engage that critical thinking and start challenging what we've been taught.
Yeah.
But for you, what was the number one limiting belief that you were like, I have got to break this?
For me, the biggest limiting belief I noticed or learned was that money is hard to make. You know, like I said, my dad was self-employed, had a great business, not good with money. So I was just seeing him go out to work all the time, always being busy, and yet we never had any money.
Yes.
So in my head, I'm like, money's hard to make.
Yes.
Like, money is hard to make.
You have to grind and hustle and graft
you've got
for the bare minimum.
Yes.
Yeah.
So the way that then showed up was when I had my full-time job and I started running this business on the side, I was making money. Not like, you know, retirement money, but I was making enough to go, okay, this could be a potential.
Yeah.
And yet still I just couldn't join the dots between going, this money has been easy. I'm doing what I love. I'm using my voice. I'm helping people and I'm making money. I still was stuck in that place of like, money's hard to make. I can't be self-employed. It's not good. It's not going to work for me. And yeah, that was probably the biggest one that I had to work through to be able to like quit my job, go full time, make money. And I think that when you have a discovery around like a belief that you have, sometimes it's deeper than what that belief is, and it's actually more like attached to your identity. Because you can have a belief like, I don't know, you can say, I know that taking risk is good. Like, we know that taking risk when it comes to investing and wealth building is good.
Yeah.
That's a belief. But your identity might be like, but I'm not a risk taker. So whilst you have a belief that's actually supporting wealth building, how you view yourself is like, you're the exception. You know, so I saw other people making money easily, but I was like, yeah, for them, but not for me.
Yeah.
So whilst I knew that money could be easy to make, my identity was kind of like, but not for me. And I think that is a big thing that you have to really learn, what are my limiting beliefs? What is my identity with money? How is that showing up for me? What am I scared is going to happen if the thing that I actually want happens? And like, this is one of the kind of things that I talk to like my clients about, is when I say, okay, what do you actually want? Like, what's your dream? Like, what are you trying to call in? They say said desire around money. And then it's like, what are you actually scared is going to happen if that happens? Because if there is a misalignment between what you say you want and what is actually happening, your subconscious beliefs, the deep-rooted identity, that's what's going to win. No matter what your like conscious brain is going, oh my God, I really want this. And, you know, beliefs, some of them are inherited. They come from our parents and our grandparents, but also the society that we were born into. So us being British and living here and, oh, money's the root, you know, the root of all evil, like, don't talk about it. You go to America, not everywhere, but you
completely different.
$1 million.
Yes.
You know, and everyone's up like, yeah.
Completely. And they say as well that in America, it's so much easier to make money because everyone has this kind of belief in them of like, money is the American dream. Like, that's what their whole culture is built on. Is like, anyone can go to America and make loads of money, and everyone is a lot more. I saw an interview with the founder of Monzo, and he's moved to Silicon Valley, and he was sort of saying, so he's not involved with Monzo anymore, he's now like doing his own tech thing in San Francisco, and he was saying that growing a business in the UK is so much harder because people go, bit risky, not sure about that. You go to America and they're like, tell me which door to open for you. Like, tell me right now. Like,
I can help.
Yeah, exactly. Like, let me help you. Like, that's so different culturally to everything. And again, the property thing, we are fucking obsessed in this country with like getting a mortgage. Like, if you've got a mortgage and you own your own house, that's like the ultimate pillar of success. And it's like, when you look at the rest of the world, no other country has such an obsession with owning property. And it is that thing of what we've been taught. The society, the generations before us. And something interesting you really said that I also have done so much research into as well is that ancestral kind of memory and what we carry with us that's they're not actually our beliefs at all. They're inherited through subconscious and emotional, mental kind of layers of energy. And it's so interesting that when people do get below that layer, it's like, oh my God, I didn't even realize that's what I was clutching onto so hard, because on a conscious level, the stock market's great and I can make loads of money, and that's what it's always about. And when you work with your clients and you start to peel back those layers, what do you notice is like one of the biggest subconscious beliefs that people are really holding on to?
I think that there are themes and patterns, especially around this idea of like not being good with money and labeling yourself as like a spender. I'm a spender. And where anything that comes after I am is how you believe to see yourself, right?
Yeah.
It is your identity. So if you're saying I'm a spender, guess what? You're gonna spend your money.
Yeah.
Even if you've got this big dream of doing, you know, whatever it is. So I think this idea of like not being good with money, or like money isn't for me, or like kind of with me, like money is hard to make. Money is hard, or this idea that wanting money makes you a certain type of person. But whatever the kind of like belief structure is that I usually work with clients that comes up, it always comes down to how people view themselves, how people view their own like world, their identity, their own worthiness. And obviously in a world where women are taught not to like themselves, it's, you know, very jarring. And I think that there's layers to beliefs as well. So you might think you kind of have this belief, but then there might be one lower, and then there might be one lower, and then there might be one lower. Like sometimes they wear different hats.
Yes.
But I think that when I work with clients, like we do a lot of work around not just beliefs, but work around your identity, work around yourself, energy work, somatic stuff. Like it's so much more than just money. Like money itself isn't just a practical resource. Like it is such an energetic extension of your mindset and how you think and therefore feel about money, and how you view money and how it works in the world, and also what you want as an individual. And I think all of those things combined, like I've been talking about this stuff, you know, a couple of years, but when I first started talking about it, people were like,
yes, it's very easy to brand it as like spirituality,
woo-woo. Yeah.
Like, and I'm sure you've had loads of trolls in your comments about that over the
trolls
years.
love it.
Yeah, especially being a woman talking about money. We actually had Rachel Harris, accountant she, on here a few weeks ago, and she was sort of saying like she gets more when she wears a pink dress.
Yeah.
She gets way more engagement from trolls, being like, you shouldn't be talking about this because you're a girl and you're a young woman, and she's like, I'm literally a qualified accountant.
I literally have the qualification.
Yeah, literally. And it's just so interesting that like something about a woman talking about things in a male dominated space makes people feel really fucking uncomfortable. And it's like, oh my God, she's figured it out. Yeah. Shit. Like the patriarchy's like clinging on to like, it's.
But the problem with that is, and that in general, is it all comes from scarcity.
Yes, absolutely.
There's enough to go around.
Yeah.
There is enough to go around. Why does it matter how the who's making what? Like if you truly believe that in an abundance of wealth and money and all the things, it doesn't matter what other people are doing.
This is exactly it.
You know, if anything, that other people are just expanders to go, wow, if they can do it, I can too. Not they've got it, so therefore I don't.
It's like a physical representation of what is possible for you. And if you're seeing it and you're feeling all the feelings, the envy and, you know, all the not so nice, uncomfortable feelings, it's just that's possible for you too. If you wouldn't see it if it wasn't.
Exactly.
And I think especially with business owners, when we talk about like whether they're putting their prices up or whether they want to launch a new offer or whatever that looks like, there's always this thing of like, oh, but it's a really saturated market. Oh, but it's, and then automatically that frequency that's going to attract the money is already diluted and like filled with static, because it's like, well, I already believe that I'm not good enough to charge this price.
Yeah, and also when let's say you're wanting to set up a business and you've got an idea and maybe it feels crazy, maybe it's been done before, maybe it's brand new, or maybe it's just a new take on something that's already been done. You have to be really careful who you tell those ideas to, right? Because other people will project their fears, their risk tolerance, their attitude, their money mindset on you.
Oh, yes, it's so true.
And you have to be so rooted and grounded in your idea, your own beliefs about what you're creating, to go, thank you, that's a gift I'm not going to accept. Like, you can have it back. Just because you would not choose to do what I'm doing, that doesn't mean it can't be done. That doesn't mean it can't make it a success. And I think that, and I know we were talking about this before, like, being in a 9 to 5 is very different to being a business owner. One is not better than the other. They both come with their risks. They both, you know, have their pros and their cons. But when you are creating a business, it is like, being an entrepreneur or a business owner is literally like personal development on steroids.
Absolutely.
You have to work through so many things to, I think, comfortably and confidently get where you want. Because, and this is where like the nervous system stuff comes in, but if you have a desire for something, let's just say to, like, I don't know, make 10K months. If your actual belief system is like stuck in a smaller amount, and you believe that you have to work hard, you have to grind, you have to do all of those things to make the larger amount of money, either it's not going to work because it's not coming from an aligned place and it's going to feel sticky and clunky and uncomfortable, and then you're going to convince yourself it's not possible for me, or you will get there, but because it's come from force and not flow, you're going to get there. Maybe you make your 10K month. You are going to be so burnt out that you're going to be like, well, if this is how I make 10K months, this isn't sustainable. And then you'll self-sabotage. Maybe you'll stop posting online. You'll ignore client emails. I don't know, like whatever it is, right? That's why you have to change the way you approach something and make a conscious choice, essentially not to take on what other people's fears and judgments are.
And that's really hard to do, isn't it? Because maybe it's your mum,
yes,
or your partner, or your best friend, or your flatmate, or someone really in your close proximity that you almost have to put the blinders on, and just be like, I can hear you, but I'm actually not listening. Like, and that's really difficult to do, especially when you're the first in a generation to do it, the first in your lineage to do it, whatever that looks like for you. But it's so interesting, isn't it? That kind of juxtaposition between force and flow, because you've got force, which is the masculine, and that's how a lot of people make it, like that strategy and execution. But that's why women are burning out twice as fast as men are, because we're forcing ourselves in a masculine world, in the patriarchy. Patriarchy is different to men, before the trolls come at me. But like, do you know, literally. But it's very, we live in a very masculine society, and we've been so trained on that. And actually the vision, the value, the flow, that is the feminine energy. And we as women have been like locked out of that for so long, and we're taught to dismiss our hormones, we're taught to dismiss you know, our own kind of flow and alignment, because masculine works, because when we force things, it works. And that's why we see, I believe, so many issues in pay gaps, in entrepreneur gaps, because it's built for men. It's a masculine world to be able to attract all of these things. But actually, money is a very feminine thing. It's flow, it's energy. That's exactly what we are. But we've just been locked out of it for so long. And it's so frustrating when we then see like the investment gap and the pension gap and all these different things that women are really having to kind of make, almost like jump decades ahead to try and repair so many years of this like real disparity in how we hold wealth. But when we talk about our nervous system, what is it about the nervous system that really impacts the ability to hold more wealth? Is it that we need to be journaling 5 times a day? Is it this? Is it that? Because I feel like, especially on social media, we're thrown all of these things. And from my own work, I've seen that journaling is just the top layer. It's just like a decoration of what's actually going on underneath. It's the top layer of trying to change things. But actually, like you said, like somatic work and all of that real rewiring happens below the surface. So where do we start? Especially with money. That's everyone's biggest question. So,
everyone is like, come on, give us the
money.
juice.
Exactly.
So I think that, I guess what I would say first is like the sort of feminine masculine thing. There is a world in which the two can coexist, right? You can have like a masculine strategy, which is like having a plan, having a strategy, but you use your feminine energy to create and, you know, call in and receive. The two can coexist. It doesn't have to be airy fairy, I'm in my floaty energy and just hoping things come to me.
And I think just to cut in on that, with the that's completely true. Like with too much feminine energy, nothing will happen. Because it stays stuck in the vision. We need the masculine to create, to kind of move the creation into an execution. So absolutely has to be a balance.
Got to be both. Yeah. So it's like using the two energies together, and using like your own energy, because some people are going to be a bit more one way, a bit more the other way. But the point of the the feminine energy is to receive, to expand, to allow the flow, and money has to do that. Money needs money needs a place to go, and it needs a home, but it also needs to move through you into someone else's pocket who can put it into someone else's pocket. And so when it comes to your nervous system, if your nervous system is dysregulated, right, and you're stuck in fight, flight, freeze, you are going to be in a position where you are scared to hold on to money, scared to take risks. You're not going to spot opportunities in life or in business to make more money or hold on to money. Like you're not in flow. You're not tapped into listening to your wisdom. And that's where all the magic happens. So I can give an example for me, bearing in mind, I've been doing this for a couple of years. I do believe that when you reach new levels, the beliefs wear different hats, right?
Yeah.
And I kind of came into this new year a bit jolted, a bit like, I don't really know, like, what kind of path am I taking? Am I wanting to do a bit more of this or a bit more of this? And I was feeling dysregulated. And I remember just being a bit like, and I went into, my go-to is like, I'm a planner. I'm like, let's come up with these ideas and let's strategize and and forcing. And I was like, do you know what? I need to do the opposite. I need to like tap back in. I need to be moving my body. I need to be doing the things like that help my nervous system, which I'll get onto. When I tapped back into that energy, what happened was ideas naturally dropped in.
Yes.
I was able to hear them, feel into them and go, that seems like a good idea. Like, I don't know where that came from. I'll just do it. 90% of my things that have been most successful within my business and my career have come from that place. I've been in the shower, I've been in yoga, I've been walking, a random idea out of absolutely nowhere has popped it in.
Yes.
I've acted on it straight away and then something random's come. And it's crazy because, like I said, start of the new year, I was like going, should I get a job? It was that because I was in panic mode.
Pure panic mode, yeah.
And the irony is I didn't need to panic, because logically I could go, well, I've got money for this. I'm okay. Logically I had a plan, but how it felt inside was not fun. And because I was all over the place, it wasn't until I took a moment and regulated myself that I was able to not only think logically, but connect to this. And I think the thing is we aren't taught in the UK how to manage the relationship between our souls and our thoughts, because we're not our thoughts.
Yeah.
We can use our thoughts to create what we want, but we don't have to believe every thought that comes in. We can challenge them. We can choose whether we believe them. And the problem is when we've had certain thoughts and beliefs around money for our whole life, whether they've been passed down, whether we created them from experiences we had in our childhood, we believe them to be so true that we actually are creating what we don't want to happen.
Self-fulfilling prophecy.
Self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's the power of the mind is so crazy. So when it comes to tools and, things for your nervous system, I do love journaling because I think that it's the first step for awareness.
Yes, absolutely.
Right?
It's the top layer.
Yeah,
absolutely.
It's like, what is going on?
Yeah.
How am I feeling? What do I want to happen? And you can kind of use it in a negative way to like unblock and uncover stuff, or in a positive way, like of calling in and creating and scripting what you want. So you've kind of got that level. But somatic work, breath work, even just things like EFT, which is like tapping, or like I recently have been doing, which is like the butterfly taps.
Yes.
Essentially, it's all about calming your nervous system so that you can think clearly and so that you can listen to your body and what you actually need, and being able to say, what do I need in this moment? But sometimes that's not always related to work. If you are having a work problem or a money problem, and you can regulate your nervous system, what do I need right now? Sometimes it's like, babe, you just need to go on a walk, or you need to see your friend, or you need to eat.
Yes.
Absolutely. It's not always, you need to make a plan, you need to email this person. And I think sometimes we forget that wealth creation is part of life. It is not just connected to our job.
Completely.
Money can come in the most random ways.
Yeah.
And I think that there is a big, and I'm sure like, you know, all of this stuff, and I've had stuff questioned about this, like about manifesting, but I'm a big believer in manifesting, but because I'm aware of the action part.
Yes, completely.
You know?
Yes, exactly. And I think that's, you literally read my mind, because where I was then going to come in was on how do we connect this to manifestation, because everything you just described is the manifestation process. But again, it's been branded as spirituality just to like keep it, to not give it a serious lens. But it's literally science, and you just spoke through it in a really scientific and clinical way, that it's not woo-woo, it's literally exactly what you just described. It's a process that kind of brings into place every single part of your energy pyramid. And the physical manifestation is the final version of that. But
and do you know what it is as well? Is because money is so practical. Right. It's physical, even though now it's like digital. It feels fluffy and also sometimes irresponsible to rely on manifesting when you're having money troubles.
Yes, completely.
You know, you feel like, well, I can't just manifest money when I'm in a weird place. So if let me use me as the example. Obviously came into this new year being a bit like, was like, girl, you know the things that you need to do. You're self-sabotaging right now. Take a minute. If the end result is, you know, in 6 months' time or a year's time, you go, I listen to myself and I go, I think it's time to get a job or pivot. Okay, listen to that. But right now, that voice that's telling you to do that is coming from fear and scarcity and lack. It is not coming from a place of truth. So when I got quiet and I was able to look at the numbers, and that's why the practical side of finances is so important, that you do still have to have a plan, have a budget, know your numbers for your personal finance and for your business finance, so that you can look at it and go, okay, physically I can see I don't need to stress, even if it's for the next 2 months, right? So you can have the logical part. It was so weird. I had 3 or 4 over the course of about a week. I had 3 or 4 ideas pop in, and I'd started at the start of the new year, this quarter I want to call in 20K. And at that moment in time, I did not know where any of that was coming from. Like, I had a couple of fingers and a couple of pies, but things were moving slow. They were getting a bit stagnant. And I was like, right, I know that I have the skills. I know that there is a need for it. I've already proved the concept. Like, my business has been running for however long. Trust. Give yourself X amount of time. Within the space, this is not a joke, within the space of like a week and a half, I'd had like 3 or 4 random ideas that felt completely out of the blue, that I just acted on, dropped an email to said person that I forgot about, and then they randomly pop back in, set up this mini thing that I've wanted to do for ages, just all the little things. By the end of the quarter, I think I reached like 18K. And to me, that was like, okay, big enough of a goal that I didn't like so exceed it that I was playing small, but not so far away that it felt like
unsafe.
That it felt unsafe. But the key thing is, like, for me, I'm a big yoga girly. Like, energy has to move through your body. Like, emotion has to move through your body. And the best way to do that is through physical movement. And I'm a big believer in dancing.
I love a kitchen dance.
Oh my God.
Like, when I tell you, if I can just put the music up as loud as I possibly can and just fucking move, I'm like a new woman afterwards.
Do you know what I mean?
I fucking love it.
Yeah, me too. I'm like, music on, let's go.
Yeah, and like, I feel like we always overthink it. Like, right, I've got to go to the gym and I've got to lift this much, whatever. And yes, all of those things are great if that works for you, but also just fucking dance.
Yeah.
Like, oh, it's such a like healer.
You know, and just like, if anyone, well, people do look through my window because there are houses backing onto my house, and I'm just like throwing my arms around like,
I love it though.
Love it. But it's moving stuff through you. And I think people come to me and they're like, how do I improve my relationship with money? How do I change my money mindset? What are the steps? And obviously there are things to do that can help you with your relationship with yourself, help with your relationship with money, you know, like having money dates, having a budget, doing physical things that call in money. But then it's all of the somatic work, the movement work. I'm a big believer in things like meditation, journaling.
Yes.
But what I will say, it is different for everyone.
Yeah, completely.
Like, I think people think that especially because there are so many like self-help books on how to get over a person, how to do X, how to build a successful business. And everybody has their own way of doing something, but you have to cherry pick what works for me.
Yes.
What feels good for me, and create your own ritual of things. Because when it goes from being like, oh, I forgot to meditate today, that means I'm not going to call in my money. Oh, I was meant to journal. When that energy hits, it's doing the opposite of what you want it to do.
Yes.
It's got to feel exciting and expansive, or at least like it's moving you in the right direction, and you're getting something energetically out of it.
Yeah.
But it all comes down to like becoming aware of your own relationship with money,
Mm-hmm.
how you're talking about yourself, how you're talking about money. The awareness piece is so important. And then it's a matter of time. Doing things daily, doing things weekly, and regulating your nervous system so that when something good happens, you can actually spot it, clock it,
Yes.
and go, oh, because when you're caught up in the chaos of life and you're not being mindful of your day-to-day, which when your nervous system isn't regulated, then you're not being mindful because you're in, you don't actually see when something good has happened.
This is it. And it's all about that consciousness, isn't it? And I think to go back to your earlier point around journaling, that's so good for that, isn't it? Of just looking at your thoughts from a really conscious place of, why do I feel like this? What is this thought process?
Yeah.
I think that is such an important part to that mental part of that, because your thoughts literally shape your feelings, right?
Yeah.
Like, and by doing things like journaling, I guess it's an unblock for that layer of, and when I say decoration, it is that top layer, but it really opens that awareness for everything underneath it, so that when something good happens, or when these like coincidences that are actually little signs or little kind of pockets of alignment, you can clock it, like you said, and then know what to do with it.
Yeah.
And I think I'm going to give you a real life example of myself at the moment. So I literally had a very similar situation to what you just said, how you felt at the beginning of the year, where, we're launching the business tomorrow actually, and you literally have this thing of like, every single fear you have ever felt in your entire life all comes and hits you all at once. And it's like, fuck, what are we going to do about money? All of this. Oh my God. And because of all of this work that, is so important, nervous system regulation, understanding energy and how it works, it's literally, I found myself drop straight into masculine as soon as I panicked and was like, I need to get a loan. I need to get a loan right now. Go and apply for all these loans. And then I was like, stop, like literally stop, because all that's going to happen is old me, or like the me who was less conscious and less aware of my own fears and beliefs, would have just gone and done it and not give a fuck about interest rates, not cared about any of the rest of it, just gone, it's worked now in the moment and it allows me to continue to execute. But actually taking a step back and like reconnecting with truth is literally so important, because immediately I went outside, I went for a really long walk, I came back, I fucking danced like crazy to Florence and the Machine, and then I was like, okay, yes, I still feel uncomfortable, of course I do, like it's gonna be scary, it's expansion, like that's never gonna feel like, you're always gonna feel uncomfortable when you're not used to a feeling, but actually being able to recognize it as, this is expansion, not regression, not kind of like panic, to go, okay, what do I do with this now? And that's the key part of the manifestation process, I believe, is that part of recognizing which thought to take an action on. And from your perspective, what have you what has been your biggest thing where you've gone, oh my God, I just manifested that, didn't even realize it was manifestation? And I think we already have a different lens on it, in the sense of, yes, it's branded as spirituality, but there's actual scientific principles beneath it. So what's been like your most evident experience of that?
Well, also before I answer that, what I will say on your story about the loan.
Yes, please give me all your advice Laura, to keep me calm for the next 48 hours.
So what I would say, right, is as a human, as we know, your feelings come from your thoughts, right? So if you choose to tell yourself a story, believe that story, and tell yourself that story over and over again about the money, about getting a loan, it also makes the feeling stay, right? And the two because then you feel weird, so then you feel like you need to think about it more, so then that makes you feel weird.
It mutates, doesn't it?
100%. It rolls in one. So being able, and that's the mindlessness part, because you're so stuck in thought, you've taken yourself out of the present moment. You're not in your body. You're just up in here. Oh, maybe I need to get a loan. Maybe I need to. Crazy. All of the thoughts. And then you act from that place. So had you stayed in that place, you probably would have applied for a loan, got the money, and then maybe you would have gone, oh, I've made a big mistake, what do I do now? Or you would have had the money, whatever, like whatever happened, right? But what you chose to do, go outside, get back into your body, tap back into the present moment. The more you can do that, right? If you ended up deciding from a place of calm and neutrality and wisdom, yeah, it is right for me to get a loan actually, because what that means is I could have this money, this is my plan for it, and it came from a calm place. The action doesn't matter.
Yes.
It's where you're making that decision from.
The intention behind it.
The intention behind it. And also trusting that you will know what to do at each given moment. If you look back over the course of your life, with money, with business, with anything, when something has cropped up that maybe has felt a bit of a crisis or a bit whatever, you've always been okay.
Always.
Always. Yeah. So why is it going to be any different moving forwards? As long as you can go, right, when I choose to tap back into the present moment, not really associate myself so much with my thoughts that are keeping me stuck in fear and scarcity, and I can come from a more calm place. I'm going to make decisions that align with my bigger vision and that align with what I actually want, as opposed to them coming from a place of fear. So I think that it's really great that you like went out, touched the grass, went, okay, right now this isn't what I need.
Yeah.
But if in 3 weeks' time you go, actually, I think it is the right thing to do. Great. And then at the next moment, you'll know what to do. And that's why the nervous system, the learning how to be present, the learning your relationship with your thoughts is important, because it allows you just to make decisions about your life from a place of alignment. And I work with an amazing coach, and we talk about this concept of if you don't know, that's okay. It's okay not to have an answer. You don't have to force an answer to something. So if you're feeling a bit stressed and a bit, oh, what do I do? What do I do? Sometimes it's better to go, you know what? I don't know the answer right now. I'm going to not necessarily like enjoy my life, but tap back into the present moment, move my body, do the things that bring me joy, and also do the hard things, and trust that at some point I will have an answer. It's okay to sit in the not knowing of something.
Yes,
you know,
absolutely.
You don't always have to act straight away.
And I think that's such a key part of manifestation, isn't it? Of removing the how from things and just realizing that it's okay, like you said, to not know how. In fact, it's really important that you don't know how it's coming, because otherwise you then drop straight into masculine and start trying to force it to happen, because you're like, oh, this is the logical way that this money will come into me, therefore I'm going to go out and force it. And actually, as you said, all of the money that you kind of set that goal to call in came from completely unexpected sources, something that was never in your brain in the first place, and because you couldn't see it when you were in panic mode. And that's definitely something that I noticed as soon as I like stabilized myself again and was like, right, come out of panic mode, just let go, just let go and sit in the void. Because I feel like that, especially in this process of when we're trying to call things in and, you know, manifest all these dreams and desires and stuff, there is that void of, you've called it in, you've set the intention, just sit back now and don't force the execution of making it happen. And I think that's something for me that I've noticed is such a huge blocker that I've had for so long, is that real push. As well as, and I think it also ties back to being academic. Because you're like, this is the problem. I now have to figure out a solution to get the right answer and get the top grade. That's not how it works. And having to unlearn that has been such a process. Like it really, really has.
And I think that when let's take money out of it. Money is the same as other areas of your life. Friendships, love, whatever, career. There will be an area of your life that you feel successful in, right? For me, for example, I've always been very like abundant with friendships. I have got the most beautiful female friendships. How do I feel about that area of my life? I feel expansive. I feel like I can make friends with anyone. I feel like, and the way I talk about and feel about that area of my life is expansive. And I know, because it's I guess over the years I've been able to create beautiful friendships. So I've got evidence of that. There is no reason why I can't apply the same energy, situation, belief system to money. Just because money is something practical, so is friendships.
Completely.
You know? So on your point around like one of the biggest things I've like manifested, I think one of the things that really sticks out is I remember at the start of my business, I really wanted to join a mastermind.
Okay.
at Business Mastermind.
Sure.
And I'd just done my qualification for financial coaching, and the Business Mastermind was £15,000.
Okay.
And I am a big believer of
This
investing in
15K
myself.
has really been present throughout your entire
Hasn't
journey.
it?
Yeah, always
15K.
15K.
Oh.
Interesting.
Let's look into that.
Yeah, I wonder what that is.
What is that? Yeah. Oh my God, yeah, that's so funny. Yeah, so I've always, so it was 15K. And I remember like having this feeling of like, I've never spent £15,000 on anything. I haven't bought a house.
Yeah.
I haven't.
Didn't do the drama school.
Didn't do the drama.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So and I just remember being like, something in my gut was like, this is the right thing to do. I did not have that money.
Okay.
I did not have that money. And I was like, okay. And I was like, right. And I remember I let go, and I was like, if it is meant for me, the money will show up.
Yes.
And I remember feeling a little bit like Delulu, because I was like, 15K, like, that's a lot of money.
Yeah.
Even though I'd saved it before, that took me like 3-4 years.
Yes.
Now what, I need it to come in a month, you know?
Yeah.
So I was right at the start of like my kind of like influencing journey and all of that. And I was like, you know what, it's meant to be. And I threw myself into the things that felt good. I had a really good routine. I was like, I was being really mindful with my money, but in a really like empowering way.
Yes.
You know, like I was spending, but I was also being aware of what I was saving, all the things. I was tapped in. And then literally like 3 weeks later, I got an opportunity from a brand. And I'd done a couple of brand deals before that were like £1,000, £500. And they wanted this like 12-week long content series.
Okay.
And from my marketing days, I know as a business development manager, I know how to pitch.
Of course. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So I've got that skill. So I was like, do you know what? I'm going to pitch to them. And I pitched 3 tiers. One was 5K, one was 10K, and one was 15K. And I remember writing out the 15K one and and feeling uncomfortable.
Yes.
And being like, I feel like an imposter. Like not me sending over this proposal saying this is 15K.
Yes.
But I was like, what do I have to lose? And there's a if they want to go with this one,
there's a safety net underneath.
There's a safety net. Sent it off, did the hard thing. A week later, they replied going, yeah, we want to go with package 3, 15K. And I just remember in my inbox being like, this has got to be a joke. Like, okay, let's go.
And now you've got the evidence.
Now I've got the evidence. And I just remember being like, had I not chosen to even see that as an opportunity, you know, I could have said to myself, I could have had that email in, but if I was all flighty and all over the place, I could have gone, right, what's your budget? If you've got a couple, you know, couple of £1,000 to give me, that opportunity would have been missed.
Yes.
And, you know, to date, that was my biggest, like, influencer.
And it came right at the moment you needed it to.
Right at the moment I needed it to. And it was crazy because I was like, wow, I'm so powerful.
Yeah.
I was like, me and the universe, like, besties right now. That's probably, like, the biggest amount of money I've manifested. But kind of, like, non-money, I feel like I've manifested a bit of a mini DJ career.
I saw this and I was like, girl, get her to Ibiza. She needs to, like, yeah, you need to be at Ushuaia.
I need to get me there. Do you know what I mean? Get me there.
So where did that come from? Was that just like a really natural thing that came up and you were like, I want to give this a go?
Yeah. Always loved music.
Yeah.
Like, I have this thing called aphantasia, which basically, have you ever heard of it?
No, I don't think so.
So if you visualize, can you see images and you can like create what can you see? Do you know what I mean? Can you see an image?
Yes.
Right? I can't see images. So if I close my eyes, it's black all the time. I can't create visual or mental images. I can feel it, but I can't see it.
That's very interesting because I can only see them sometimes. And I've maybe had it, bearing in mind I've been doing this for years, I've maybe had 4 actual visual that I can go, that was an image. Yeah. And that's doing this every single day for years. Yeah.
So, and it's a scale. So some people have like, some people's mental...
they can see it and it's,
Some people can even see it while their eyes are open, right? That, you know, like people that have synthenasia or whatever it is, which is when you play the piano, you can hear you can see the colours and the smells. Yeah. It's like one extreme. The other end is aphantasia. So I can't visualise anything. Okay. Everything, if you ask me to recall a memory, it's in feeling and thought. It's not necessarily in image. Okay. Anyway, so I There is a point to that story.
DJing.
Thank you. So music is a really big thing for me.
Okay.
It's my favourite sense.
And sound is the most powerful frequency to reach the subconscious.
Perfect.
There you go. There we
go.
It all makes sense.
It all makes sense.
Completely.
So I just always have been interested in DJing. I think it looks really fun. I think it looks really cool. I have got loads of DJ friends. I would always meet people out on a night out and I'd be like, what's your job? I'm a DJ. I'd be like, this is crazy.
And they're all your pockets of alignment.
And everyone, oh, I'll help you if you want. Oh, I've got some tips. So you feel like this kind of like support, right?
It's like a non-negotiable. You reach the point of like, this is the only option. This is like, I have to do this now.
I've got to lean into it.
Yes.
So,
okay.
Took a bit of action, bought the decks like early last year and just started doing it at home, just like playing around.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, this is really fun. My friend had a party and she was like, do you want to do a bit of a set? And again, every time I've done any kind of DJing live, it's always been, I've been jumping in at the deep end.
Okay.
It's not me being fully prepared. I've been as prepared as I can, but like, you know, on the job, it's quite hard. And it's a skill. Like if you have ever it is not easy.
No, I always think it's one of those things that looks really easy. I've never done it myself, but I know that it's not easy. It just looks easy.
Yeah, and you think it's just pushing buttons, and then you get started, and you're like, wow, it's crazy. But it's something for my creativity. It's an outlet. I just find it fun.
Yeah.
I just find it fun. So I was like, do you know what? This is my thing outside of work.
Yes, nice.
You know,
needed.
I said to my friends, I was like, even though this is fun, I was like, I will be DJing in Ibiza in 5 years. I was like, just watch the space.
Yeah.
Over the course of last year, one friend would be like, oh, I've got a party. Do you want to DJ? Yeah, okay. So then I do that. And then just a couple of things started happening. I guess the manifestation part is by the letting go and the detachment because it's been fun and free and I've had goals but I've not been like gripped onto them and I've done a couple of really cool gigs because I've told a couple of people, oh, I've started DJing, and then they tell their friend, oh, we need a DJ.
Yes.
It's one of those things that's just happened very naturally and it still really is my side thing. Like I still really enjoy it. It's not taken over this part, but it's crazy how the taking action, the letting it be fun, letting it flow, but also putting my word out into the world and just seeing what happens. It's crazy.
And that, I think, couple of things there in terms of putting yourself out there, that stems from confidence. And you come across very confident, which I absolutely love. It's so easy to vibe with. Like, I think it shines through in your content as well.
Thank you.
Have you always been really confident? I guess do you think your drama school training kind of came into that a little bit? Because that, I feel like, especially as women, so many women that I speak to or I know or I see on social media are just so scared to start the thing. Yeah. And it comes from this lifetime of being told to shrink.
I think like when I was in school, I was always like the funny friend. Like I wasn't ugly, but I was like the little skinny one who like didn't know how to do her makeup. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
So I used humour to connect with people. I've always loved making people laugh and like,
which is such an amazing skill and quality to have because it's not an easy thing that people just do.
Yeah, and it's kind of like I crafted it at school, but also as a form of protection.
I was just about to say that defense mechanism. Yeah,
school was brutal. Wasn't it? Do you know what I mean? So like I would use humour to be like, hey, like me, you know, like you can't hate on me or pick on me because I'm funny, you know.
And anything you say to me, I'm just gonna make it to a joke.
Exactly, water off a duck's back.
Yes, absolutely.
And then obviously drama. Like when I was at drama school at the weekends, you'd just be sat in a room and they'd be like, get up and sing, get up and do this, and you would be put out of your comfort zone all of the time. Yeah. And I think this kind of like cocktail of the two things. I've always felt very confident, but then that's enhanced the confidence, if that makes sense. Yeah. And I think that a lot of people have, how do I get confident? And I think they assume that you have to be an extrovert to be confident, which I don't believe.
No,
you can absolutely be a very confident introvert, if that's how you want to label yourself. But I think the key thing is when there are opportunities to strengthen your confidence, to take them. You can't just expect to wake up one day and go, oh, I'm really confident today. No, you have to build it yourself. And one example I always think of is when I went, it's really random, I went to Marrakesh with a couple of my friends. And when I got there, I've always been really scared of heights. And they had one of those trapeze things you know, that you climb up and you grab.
Yeah.
And I remember looking at it and being like, that scares the shit out of me. I need to do it.
Yeah.
And my friends were like, you're scared of it. And I was like, I know, but I kind of feel like I need to prove to myself that I can do it. And I did do it, and I was so scared.
Yeah.
But that for me was like a little penny in the jar of like, I can do hard things.
Yeah.
And that things like that build my confidence, you know? And I think it's the deciding what type of person do I want to be?
Yeah.
What does confidence look like for me? How can confidence support my life, my business, my career? And what am I telling myself about confidence?
Yes.
Because a lot of people associate confidence with ego. Two very different things.
Completely. And also with being, I think there's this thing of, women especially, we really struggle with self-promotion. And it's this fear of being seen as arrogant.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, they're two completely separate things. But then men really have that hubris and really don't struggle as much as women stereotypically with self-promotion. Like, and I'm not sure where that, well, I know where it stems from, it's social conditioning, but like, it is that thing of just being like, if you don't do it, you will never do it.
Yeah.
So you might as well do it.
Do it. And I think also this idea of like, especially if you're public facing, if you're building a business, rooting back to your own why is the most important thing.
Absolutely.
And especially when it comes to money, what is your why with money? A lot of people say to me, oh, I don't want to be a millionaire. I don't need to have loads of money. I'm like, that's totally okay. Your goal doesn't have to be the money. Your goal is the bigger vision, and the money is just the vehicle that takes you there. Money is an amplifier, right? So the more money you have, the more good you can do, the more you can support yourself, your family, your friends, give to charities, bring amazing, innovative products to the world that change the face of an industry or for a specific, person. And I do think that this idea around like being able to confidently own what it is you're doing and your why, the only person you have to explain that to is yourself.
Absolutely.
You don't have to explain it to anybody else, but the stronger of a connection you have to your why, I think the easier it becomes to build a business, call in money, all of the things. Because you might have people be like, oh, you shouldn't be doing this, the fear of what the people are going to say.
Yeah.
But if you're rooted in your own why.
Completely. And I think the more we ignore that and the more we suppress that and the more we refuse to kind of lean into it, that's the more dysregulated we become, the more burnt out we become, the more depressed, anxious, sad we become as human beings, because we have to have purpose. And the more you suppress that purpose because out of fear and those limiting beliefs, you're so disconnected from yourself, from source energy, from everything that you're meant to be here for. You are meant to be here for a reason. And disconnecting from that is one of the most dangerous forms of self-harm possible. And I really strongly believe that. But when we talk about manifesting, and back to what we were just saying about how when we're calling in those things and we have that void, what is the most important thing to do when we are in that void of, okay, I'm in between kind of, I've taken the action and now I'm like waiting for the arrival. What is the most important number one tip to do in that space? Because it always feels like it lands right at the last minute and you really have to hold on and hold the line right until the last moment possible before something comes in. Is that your experience with it? If so, how do we get through that? Because that is the worst fucking bit ever.
It's the worst bit.
It's the worst bit.
I think what's really important when it comes to having a vision or a goal, no matter how far away it is, and being where you're at now, really being able to be happy and present with where you are at. Something shifted for me recently because I went to an event and I, as an influencer, you get spotted. People, oh, Carl, hi, Laura, I follow you on Instagram. I'm not being flooded. I'm not being chased by paparazzi. Do you know what I mean? I'm having just really nice conversations with people. And I came away from that event and I was like, oh, that was lovely. But I met Claudia Winkleman. So cool.
I fucking love her so much.
She strokes.
Like, I love her. She's like
brilliant.
my little icon.
Yeah, she's lush.
She always looks so fucking good as well. I love her style so much.
She's really cool. Claudia Winkleman. She is getting ambushed. Everybody in that room wanted to talk to her, right?
Yeah.
She didn't get to enjoy it in the same way that I did, right? And I remember being in the taxi on the way home and being like, I have been going, I want to be there. I want X amount of followers, X amount of money in my business, X amount of visibility, whatever. But when I'm there, I can't have the things that I have now. And it's not about sacrifice, it's just about your life changes as your life changes.
Yeah.
So being able to enjoy where you are at every minute is important. Obviously, you can have wobbly days, like your emotions change, but being able to be sat in where you're at, that's where the trust comes in, because you go, right now, if things stayed as they are like this for the next 5 years, would I be okay? Would I be happy? Would I enjoy my life? If you can learn to confidently say yes, you're going to be able to enjoy the journey, and then it doesn't matter when it happens.
And that's the point, enjoying the journey. Like, it's not about the destination.
Yeah.
And I think that we get so attached to that of like, I'll be happy when. I'll be financially abundant when. And it's like, you can't keep waiting for when, because the point is the journey. That is the point of this.
Yeah.
That's where the joy is.
The problem with the money thing of I'll be happy when, the goalpost always moves.
Yeah.
If you think you're going to be happier when you have X amount in the bank, X type of house, X in the stock market, whatever, you're going to be disappointed, because you've put your emotion onto a practical thing. But happiness is an inside job.
Yeah.
And we know that because there are people who have way less than us who are genuinely more happier than us.
Oh my God. I went to Bali, right? And I know so
like Bali.
Yeah, literally. I loved it so much because they, by all standards, very poor country.
Yeah.
The happiest society I've probably ever come across. And the more we went into like rural Bali, the happier these people became.
Yeah.
And I'm standing there thinking, oh my God, you don't even have like proper civilization, as in like Western civilization, but you're so happy.
Yeah.
And you think, it's never been about what we have. It's about our perception of what we have, right?
Yeah. And it's like, if there is no difference, obviously there is practically, but like emotionally.
Yes.
You know, so it's like we're going, oh, we can only be happy when we've got X, Y, and Z. We can only be happy when I've got designer clothes or when I'm driving a certain type of car. What is it that you think that's going to give you when you have it that you can't access now?
Yes.
Right? Because the problem is when you put so much emphasis on this thing, it's coming from a place of desperation.
Yes.
And like struggle, I have to be there.
Yes.
And what you're then doing is telling yourself, I'm not happy now. So when you tell yourself I'm not happy now, your brain is going to go and look for ways to, you know, create dopamine or seek happiness. And that might come in the form of impulse spending.
Yes.
Or doing things with your money that actually aren't aligned with your goals. So and I think people get worried that if they say, I'm really happy where I am at right now, even if they haven't met their goals yet, they think it means that they're going to stay stagnant.
Yes.
And they're not going to push, and that they're not going to, you know, work hard. Not at all. You can be, like, I'm probably one of the happiest I've ever been. And yet,
I love that.
Thank you. I'm not where I want to be financially, or where I want to be with material things.
Okay,
right?
Sure.
But actually, the reason why I want those things is for security and safety. And yet I can create that sense of security and safety now. I can just create more of it as I go.
Yes.
And I think that when you have to decide what does help you feel present and in flow and all of that. Because even though the more money I have, the bigger experiences I can have, the more luxury places I can go, the more X, Y, and Z. But life isn't always about more, you know? And I think that our society has pushed this narrative that of individualism, like with your money.
Yes.
Go after wealth, get this, get that, you'll be happy when.
Masculine.
And it creates a disconnect from you, other people, yourself, when actually, if you can really enjoy your life, what you're building, what you're creating, when the money and the success comes, you just can do more of it.
It's an amplifier of who we are. Exactly
100%.
that. So maybe the real work is actually in, you have to be the kind of person that knows where to put that wealth.
Yeah.
And that's the journey of like, I'm really happy now. Because if you're, like you said, it's an amplifier. So if we're not happy, this is literally just clicking for me as we speak. As we find that journey to being happy and being present, that's the moment, because you don't want to amplify that fear of lack and that fear of constantly panicking where the next pennies come from. So I don't want the 7 figures to land then, because it's going to land in the wrong energy. And actually I need it to land in the right energy of me being happy and present, so that I can go off and make the world a better place with it. Oh my God.
I always say, are you a good home for money?
I love that.
Because
it's so true.
Right? Let's just, you know, say you're making £3,000 a month, that's your salary, and you're going, oh, I really wish I was making 5k a month. I really wish I was making 10k a month. Okay, let's say you get that money. You then have to manage that money. If you're already not confident managing the money you have now, what makes you think that when you have more, you're going to feel more confident managing it?
Yes.
You have to learn, like, and this is more the practical thing, but you have to learn to, or you have to create safety with money first, so that when more of it comes in, and when you're doing the other things to call it in, it feels good. Yay, I'm making more.
Yes.
I know where to invest it. I feel confident investing into my business or into myself or giving away or whatever. As opposed to, I'll do those things when the money comes in. Because if you wait and you do it that way round, it comes and all you're going to have is more stress, more worry, more anxiety, because you have more to manage.
And then it just disappears.
And then people feel even worse because they go, oh my God, I called in all this money.
And now I've got none of it left.
And I've got nothing to show.
Yes.
So it's like you want to energetically embody the version of yourself that is feeling confident with money, even if it's with a smaller amount.
Yeah.
That knows what they're doing, that feels confident investing in X, Y, and Z, so that when more comes in, you're already feeling good about it.
Yeah. That's a real unlock in the way that we see it in the 3D.
Yeah.
That's really interesting. Thank you for that. That was a good little unblock. What is one money ritual that you never skip?
Oh,
is there one?
No, I mix it up.
Okay.
So my kind of general routine.
Yes.
And this is where it like shifts, but I'm a morning person.
Is this like a daily thing, or is this a like when it feels good, certain times a month when I'm during my period, as an example? Can't do it. Like, or is it something that is just like naturally you lean into every day?
This is stuff I lean into naturally every day.
Okay.
But it's come from 10 years of like self-help stuff, you know?
Yeah.
So on a practical level, the one thing I do every single month without fail is I have a money date. So I sit down with my money and where's it gone? Where's it going? Where would I like it to go? What's worked? What's not? Where am I out of my financial goals? Practical stuff, mindset stuff, every single month without fail.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah. And that helps you build a relationship with your money, because you're like, I'm the one in the driver's seat. Yes. You're not picking where you go, I'm choosing. So that's like the practical thing, which I would say is a non-negotiable, which is once a month. But daily, I mix it up between waking up and listening to a mantra track. I have them on my podcast. I've got like 4 or 5. They're like 10, 15 minutes long. I listen to my own voice, I'm not going to lie.
The most powerful program.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I just pop one of those on. That, journaling. And that comes in the form of either writing down just how I'm feeling, what's coming up, and like unblocking stuff.
Just being really conscious.
Really conscious. Or writing down my like gratitude list. And I don't just do, I'm grateful for my health. I'm grateful for food. I do like, I am so grateful for my mind that has allowed me to like see life in a certain way. Like I get quite deep with it.
Yeah.
Or writing down the things that I'm calling in. So for example, when I wanted to manifest that 20K, this is one thing I did without fail. Every single morning, I wrote down, I am so grateful for the £20,000 that I called in Q1 2025 in business revenue that felt so easy. I wrote that down every single day. Now, it's not that writing it down made it happen. It's that it normalized it.
Yes.
And it put it front of my mind when I started the day. You know, like I was like, okay, you know, I started my day with work. I've got a lot to do. How can I prioritize? Okay, well, my biggest goal right now is to be calling in more money. So right now, this thing would be really nice. I'd love to switch up my website, but it's not important.
Yes.
It helps you prioritize. It helps, you know, it primes your brain. So they're the kind of, between those 3 or 4 things, I'm doing at least one of them a day.
Okay, so it's like a religious process that, we stick to. We do it every single day.
But I wake up and I see which one I want to do.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. I kind of like wake up and I'm like, sometimes I do all of them. Sometimes I do like one of them. Sometimes I do, and sometimes I forget. Like,
of course,
I think
and life's busy.
Life's busy, and when you tell yourself, I have to stick to this strict thing, so for some people that can feel really restrictive. Like, I love routine, but not to the point where it feels like it's weighing me down.
Yes.
I want it to feel like, I feel like doing this today. Oh, that feels
I'm so excited to sit down and do this today.
Yes.
Yeah,
it's more what it means as opposed to the act of doing it.
Yes, completely.
All it's doing as well is just like making you be more mindful, tapping you into the present moment, unblocking some stuff. Like, they all of these different little things that you can do are just are that's the overarching thing. Yeah. It's just helping you become more present, tapping you back into putting that front of mind. Some people hate journaling.
Yeah.
That's okay.
Yeah.
That's okay.
There's so many other ways to do it.
Yeah.
And yeah, like you said, it is just really being able to, and some people I feel like really naturally are very natural manifestors, are very natural they're already very conscious of themselves already. And what I've also noticed, and I don't know if you've had an experience of this, is those people who are neurodivergent tend to have that energetic awareness a lot more because they're a lot more sensitive to energy. And I know, like, my partner, as an example, has ADHD, and honestly, the way that she feels things before they land, I'm like, you're fucking psychic. And it's just as sensitive to energy, and actually is a really powerful manifestor, even though has no idea about just completely by accident. Yeah. And I think it is that real thing of people who are neurodivergent are a lot more in sync with truth. Yeah.
I think it's like, I don't necessarily know like the details on that. I haven't had any like doctor confirmation, medical confirmation. Everyone says to me, do you have ADHD? I come from a family that has ADHD. I think I probably do have it, but I don't like to say it without, you
don't need to.
Don't need to. Yeah. But I would say I'm like your partner. Like,
just very naturally.
A bit more in touch with the kind of like intuitive part. Yeah. Obviously it comes with its cons, right? But then there's also a superpower side to it.
Completely.
Learning your own superpower is key. Something I did recently, so I'm currently doing my diploma for financial planning. Not necessarily to become a financial advisor, but more so for like the knowledge and the credibility and to have it under my belt. And I've always been really great at memorizing. Obviously an actress, really good at picking up script. Yeah. But I haven't done exams in like 12 years. Yeah. So I sit down with this textbook, I'm making flashcards. My exam was like 3 weeks away, and I was like, why is this not going in? I was literally ready to throw the towel in. Mm-hmm. This is one exam of 6. I was like, oh my God. So I learned about all the different types of the way that your brain works when it comes to memory, and all the different types of memory, loads of different types. But I tapped into different parts of my memory. So you have like semantic memory, which is like learning concepts and how they like relate to each other. Yeah. Then you have, what was the other one that I did? Like pattern recognition. So if you create like acronyms or like certain flows of words to help you remember stuff. And then also spatial. So that might be like environmental, like this, or like mind mapping. I created a mind map. I really like went deep into all of the meanings. When I tell you this mind map was crazy, next day I woke up and I remembered the whole thing. I was able to write it down. Isn't it? It was kind of like a photographic memory, but I don't know if that's what it was. But like finding your superpower. How do you like to learn? How do you like to memorize stuff? How do you, like, for me, when I learn something, I love to repeat it back to people. Yes. So I will read a book, I'll come down and I'll say to my housemates, you have to hear this. And when I re-say it to them in my own terms, I remember it so much more.
And it's coded, it's like you've coded it in. Yes. Yeah, it's so interesting, isn't it? And I think that brings us back to the earlier point around really engaging critical thinking and just being like, okay, this is not working for me. I'm not going to force it. Yeah. Let's find the other route, because everything is bendable, everything is movable, nothing is concrete. And it's just having the courage and confidence to go, that doesn't work. Let me find another route. And that's exactly what you did. You took away the whole like traditional conformity. This is how we learn and revise for exams. Not working. Let's figure out another way.
And if you apply that to your money, right? Okay, everyone's telling me I have to have a spreadsheet. I like spreadsheets. I'm a spreadsheet girly, but that doesn't work for everyone.
No.
And when you think you have to do one thing one way and it doesn't work for you, well, then you're like, well,
I'm never going to earn any more money. I can't do money.
I'm never going to be able to save. I'm never going to be able to invest. No, just find the way that it works for you. You're going to be managing money probably for the rest of your life. So trial and error. Try different types of budgeting, try different ways to save, try different things and find like your blueprint to being able to implement the personal finance kind of like basics, but in your own way. Because then it feels fun, then it feels playful, then it feels like enjoyable and not like, I've got to sit down and do this, or, I've got to check my budget. It's more like, ooh, I've created my own structural system and making it fun.
Yeah, completely. Like do it on Canva if you want. Do it, like write it in your notes app. Like, exactly. You don't even need to write it down. Yeah. Like just do it in a way that feels in line with truth. Yeah. And that's the most important part.
Personalize it.
Yeah, exactly. And that feels like the entire crux of this whole conversation is just when we lean into that source energy and really align ourselves with us and personalise our life and our approach to pretty much anything, that feels like the route forward to calling in those manifestations and that have been branded spirituality but are not. They are science.
There's science behind them.
Yeah, literally. But no, thank you so much. This has been such an interesting and such a valuable episode, and I'm sure so many people are gonna take so much from it. So thank you so much. You're such a joy. So grateful to have you here.
Having me.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me.